So we looked at the circle of courage, or the medicine circle, Lakota people. It's also a circle that is really rather universal to indigenous people in North America, and probably beyond, because the circle is a very sacred symbol in many cultures. And we looked at the Western box, being boxed in by different kind of values. So we looked at the circle that give us the virtues of belonging, independence, mastery, and generosity. The Western box, and here specifically we're thinking of the criminal justice system, is ruled by greed, fear, anger, and ignorance.
And the real issue is when you talk about this idea of humiliation, you're really talking about othering. Humiliation comes when other people are called others, as opposed to us all being connected. And so in our work, we were talking about the idea is you don't start by talking about how we're different. In an indigenous perspective, it is how we are connected, how we are together. So even though we did not use this quote as we were talking, I just wanted to share this quote from Chief Seattle. And think about that, because that's really where we're going in terms of the connectedness. And he says, "Man does not weave this web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves." And I think in our talk, it's not realizing that what is being done to otherize comes back and haunts those who are otherizing. And in an indigenous culture, the idea is, even with the terminology, when we talk about autonomy, everything is about belonging, that we are and we should be connected. And yes. Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were going to say something else. So okay. I will just add that this whole idea of looking at the oneness of people, what came up in the group is that's part of the problem. Somebody said earlier, talking about context and perspective. And yes, we all have our perspectives, and that's one of the problems that when you look at the indigenous kind of philosophy, the only reason, or one of the big issues, is if you don't come from that background, if you come more from a Western context, it's hard to really understand this. It's like you're talking another language. But in an indigenous culture, this is how we talk. It is, and I will say, how we talk, because part of my family is Lumbee, which is an indigenous tribe. And so the idea is, how do we bring this together? So I'm just going to ask the group right now is just breathe with me. Just take 3 breaths with me. Just breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. What we've done is shared what the indigenous people say. We are not, you can't be separate, that really that breath is the thread, and if we would recognize that, we would be so much farther. So this is one of the other ideas that came up, is that the universe is like a heartbeat. It's going to beat on. So the idea is our universe, when we can connect to it and be part of it, then all of this that's on the other side in the square doesn't work. What works is how we belong together and how we build in a more sociocentric way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Lovely.